The team is determined to locate as many clues as viable to piece together the island's past and discover the legendary riches. Since they determined gold in the island's water, the Lagina brothers and their group are investigating and collecting records that indicates gold within the timber. The group is still excessive on their recent discovery. The team is extra positive than ever that they could solve the 228-year vintage treasure mystery. An ancient handcrafted ladder leading to a dark underwater tunnel is one among several signs and symptoms of human interference they discover as they discover the island's aquatic and subsurface areas. According to the legend of Oak Island, one greater character will want to die to interrupt the curse which hides the treasure. Even although the island has a scary tale connected to it, it hasn't stopped the Lagina brothers and their team. The episode starts with Paul announcing that this become going to be an interesting area to be. The Digicam zooms in on their camp at the island and reveals the group marking a niche at the floor that they suppose could be ideal for drilling. Marty asks if they may be equipped to deliver the rig in. After an affirmative response, they disperse to better positions around the vicinity. As any other exciting week begins, Marty Lagina explains that Dr. Spooner and Dr. Michael believe they have got isolated an area of precise hobby, primarily based on the water sample trying out outcomes. Marty gestures grandly around him and says that they may be status in that location. As he finishes explaining this, the audience receives a flashback to the team all sitting in a room together talking approximately this very improvement. A man with mild hair and glasses is talking excitedly, approximately finding something cool. After engaging in water assessments and boreholes throughout the cache pit region that suggested that treasure can be located inside a 70 through 25-foot vicinity just west of the garden shaft that the team have decided to call the Blob. Another professional appears in this flashback, announcing that a number of objects which are being buried that comprise the one's metals are clustered in an incredibly small location. The geoscientist Dr. Spooner is found out because the truthful haired emotional man in glasses, and the second one, expert as Dr. Fred Michael, a hydrogeologist. They carried out new assessments that have significantly narrowed the hunt place for the Curse Island crew to a region of simplest 20 by 20 FT and between 80 and 120 feet deep, which Dr. Spooner has been dubbed the Blob 2.0, or the Child Blob with the aid of the others at the group. In the modern day, absolutely everyone has a copy of the plan of their palms speaking about what a curious area they have got landed on to investigate and rediscover. What makes the vicinity they may be status in so exciting is they speculate that they might potentially have a tunnel sitting at 95 toes, which comes into this potential treasure place is, a likely unfortunate or revealing turn of occasions. The end is that the entirety is leading to this area, wherein they have marked a massive orange X. They come to the realization that the X that marks the spot is their high-quality danger of overlaying all their bases at once. Marty's most effective remark about that is to carry in the rig already. The team gets geared up to drill borehole D and 11 Feeve within the Baby Blob, a borehole that they desire will no longer be reliant upon fresh water alone from a valuable standpoint. Their final simplest come upon valuables below a depth of 80 feet, however, can also be on course to intercept a tunnel believed to run at once underneath the garden shaft, in which water testing has detected hint proof of gold. There is excitement in the air as they're finally attending to the satisfactory part of all their hard paintings. They have performed an intensive water sampling software over months, and now they're on the point of possibly uncovering the hidden treasure that has been whispered approximately for centuries. Marty's desire is they discover something there, even if it is not the treasure that might stop their seasons-long hunt. Charles Barkhouse, the Oak Island historian, is left in prize of the operation as Marty excuses himself from overseeing it himself. The narrator weak at the target audience understand that because the drilling operation in borehole D and 11.5 gets underway. A brief, even as later, Marty is back, however this time within the employer of Oak Island operations manager Scott Barlow and Roger Fortin from Dumas Contracting Ltd. Scott Barlow, I may add, as they prepare to, for my part, investigate the garden shaft. The reconstruction of the garden shaft is well beyond the halfway point, and their intention is to build the halfway point at 80 FT deep. Roger estimates that they'll be around 60 feet underground as they behave their inspections. Over the beyond numerous weeks, the group from Dumas Contracting Limited has been excavating heaps of muck and water out of the dilapidated shaft and installing watertight timber stages each 8 feet that they call units As they construct their manor down the shaft, they have started drilling in specific angles to look for proof of potential offset guy-made chambers and items. Marty counts himself and Scott lucky so that it will move down into the garden shaft because they have got determined an old ladder down there that he considers a part of the island's mystical history. Down inside the shaft, Marty is surprised by using the old ladder, undeniable proof that he's standing wherein adventurers and treasure hunters did earlier than him. Scott asks if he can see where the ladder was whittled through hand, as they clearly did now not have a timber lathe all those years ago. The ladder itself is dealt with as a treasure in itself. Actually, very few, if any, people are whittling their very own timber ladders in this point in time. They speak about wanting to satisfy the person who made the ladder and his mind on their operation. Given that the garden shaft may additionally have been built greater than 1/2 a century prior to the discovery of the authentic money pit, they marvel if this homemade ladder could have been left in the back of Brotha's house by means of a person who deposited a big cache of gold. If that is the case, it would provide an explanation for the high readings of precious metals coming from this location. This theory holds numerous water if one takes the time to consider how lengthy it ought to have taken a craftsman to hand make a ladder of such high, first-rate, most effective to leave it at the back of the in and underground shaft. In another flashback that takes location 12 weeks earlier, the team is seen drilling a borehole positioned simply 18 feet southwest of the garden shaft. At one point, Matt and Yoda appear in the shaft. The team then observed a massive void that they believed may be a sign of an offset chamber. In the modern day, Scott Barlow has observed a hunch at the same approximate intensity inside the garden shaft, and the wondering is that it can be related to the void the crew located weeks earlier. This raises everyone's pleasure as they wonder what they'll find with their probe drilling in that region. The capacity to look out of doors the shaft is thrilling, as they may be able to see if their theories of any other chamber, tunnel, or shaft subsequent to the garden shaft can be tested authentic. Back within the Money Pit place, historian Charles Barkhouse and geologist Terry Matheson are difficult at work. They were closely monitoring the drilling of the borehole DN 11-5, DN 505. Now that the drilling has reached the viable treasure region, which lies between 80 and 120 FT deep below the Earth's floor. Andy, a geoscientist, walks over to the tent that Charles and Terry are putting in place to check on them and see how their paintings goes. Terry lets him recognize that they're down DN 11-5 and that they are reached 78 to 88 FT, getting in the direction of their purpose. As he says this, a noisy grinding sound can be heard coming from the drilling crew, and every person appears up because the screeching handiest gets louder. The drill operator says that they want to drag up the drill because they broke through something. They determined to take a size at the pipe to figure out what took place. As the drill operator reads a measuring tape, he reads that they're open a foot in a 1/2. Terry appears on from the tent, jaw dropped, concerned that something has long passed terribly for the crew. The drill operator makes his manner to Terry and tells him what came about. He claims to have broken via something when he reached 90 toes underground. Terry rephrases what he said, and now the scenario may be understood because the drill operator having an open area 90 feet beneath grade, meaning there's a void down there. The three men within the tent let the operator recognize that they're going to speak over this improvement, and they will let him recognize what to do once they attain a consensus. But for now, they need to pause the drilling. The master mechanic blows off a bunch of steam and tells the driller. Charles takes out his cell phone to touch the Lagina brothers, Rick and Marty. Rick is proven in a confessional, announcing that on every occasion he receives a call from the Money Pit drill application, it is an exciting moment for him. Due to the fact that DN 11-5E is in the treasure area they have exact. The significance of the region can't be harassed enough. They have got invested a fortune in time and money to slender down the location with the very best gold values, the creation of trapped air, and the voids in the vicinity. Rick drives down to the vicinity proper away and is in a splendid temper. The whole crew begins to record into the tent close to the borehole, everybody accumulating round to hear the brand new improvement. Mike, the operator of the drill, tells him that at around 90 feet he ought to sense the rods wreck via something, and it became open about 1.5 feet slashed past his rods. He speculates that something he cut via treassure spectroskeleton from the Vietnamese void fell into this void. This is an extremely and demanding development. Ought to he have hit buried treasure that has now dropped right into a void? Terry takes out a map of the vicinity and he determines the DN 11-5 borehole clearly appears to line up with DN 12.5 and DN 13. This is fundamentally enthusiastic for the void. Terry takes out a map of the vicinity and he determines the DN 11.5 and DN 13.5. That is all alongside an east-west alignment, all of its miles A structure at 94 toes beneath grade. He says that Mike hitting it at under 90 feet indicates that they're on the top of the tunnel. Because the team has recently encountered a believed tunnel at the identical intensity in 2 other close-by boreholes, which all line up with the garden shaft, should they be right? That they've intercepted every other section of the shape. And should this be associated with the massive quantity of gold that turned into detected inside the baby blob? Marty says that they need to confirm whether or not it's miles a tunnel, or now not, and the handiest manner too. To do this is to pull the middle. Marty commands Mike to get them some center and to find them their treasure. The drill operators, Mike and Colton, march lower back to satisfy his desires. Rick is left thinking about how, on every occasion, a chunk is going down. Whenever they come across a void, the primary thought he has is that it is able to lead them someplace. At this point, that is the form of thinking that has led to the crew locating clue after scattered clue as they are attempting to hit the region of the fabled treasure. Mike lowers the drill into the borehole as Rick goes over his deep desire to locate solutions and that treasure that has ended up his obsession. Rick observes Colton filling a core pattern, which Terry and Charles will then slice and dice for a few clues.